Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at a great article from Dragon number 59, The Gods of the Halflings by Roger Moore. We're going to take a look at the Pantheon itself, and we're going to look at Yandala's entry in Deities and Demigods, and take a look at ways you can integrate these deities into your campaign, and make some interesting Halfling clerics. So today on page 121, Gods of the Halflings. The Gods of the Halflings. First, we're going to take a look at the entry from Deities Demigods in the non-human deities section, which gives us our write-up of the goddess Yandala. Yandala is a greater goddess of the Halflings. She AC 2, 350 hit points. She's a greater goddess. She's 75% MR. She's lawful good. Her worshippers are lawful good, Halflings. Her symbol is the shield. She resides in the seven heavens. She is a 12th level cleric, 12th level druid, 10th level fighter, 25th level illusionist, and 15th level thief. So Yandala is a pretty powerful goddess. She is the mother goddess of the Halfling Pantheon, and she has two aspects, the provider and the protector. As the provider, she's the goddess of fertility and growing things, of birth and youth. She can make barren things fertile and increase the growing rate of plants, animals, with a wave of her hand. What she gives, she can take away. She can, at will, cause you to be affected as if by 3 charges from a staff of withering. So a pretty powerful goddess. As a protector, Yandala warns off evil influences and intrusions, thus the shield symbol, and gives halflings the strength and determination to defend themselves. In this aspect, Yandala most often uses her illusionist ability to protect her worshippers. And halflings set aside 1 day per week for worship of Yandala, called Safe Day, a day which is most spent in rest and play. Non-player character halflings may rise up to 5th level of ability. This was from the book that was written in 1980. I've long since removed any kind of limits like that, including player characters. If a player character wanted to worship Yandala, and I actually had one in my campaign back in the 80s, the ill-named halfling cleric Orcus, who worshipped Yandala, I let him just continue to rise in power as he did. I think when he left our campaign, he was about 15th level. Orcus was an excellent character, very well played by one of my players, who unfortunately moved away years and years ago, and Orcus has been on my campaign now about 25 years. So now we go to Dragon 59. Dragon 59 has a great traveler starport and downport, Exodanias starport, and it has the excellent Gods of the Halflings article. I liked the Gods of the Halflings. I felt that as a pantheon, they were kind of underpowered. Yandala is a greater goddess, of course, but we start out with Arvarine, who's a lesser god. He's the closest thing the Halflings come to a god of war. AC 1, armor class, or hit points 298. He is 65% MR. He's lawful good, and his worshippers' alignments are all good and neutral warriors, halflings. His symbol is the short sword and shield. He resides in 7 heavens. He operates as an 8th level cleric, 12th level ranger, 10th level thief, and 8th level monk. So fairly modest levels for an individual like this. And then he is the closest thing to a god of war. He is a defender type god, Arvarine the Defender, and his sphere of influence is defense for halflings. He never attacks opponent first, but will always swing afterward. He's interesting. He's not particularly aggressive for a god of war. He fights only if attacked, and then though he does seek out his enemies to actively confront them, to get them to stop their evil practices. It's interesting. I felt that the fact that these were halflings played into a lot of the writing of this particular article, and the halflings ended up being a little less powerful than they could have been. So now we go to Sheila Periroyal. She's a lesser goddess. AC 3 to 306 hit points. She is 80% MR. Her alignment is neutral, and she is allowed to, all halflings can worship her. Her symbol is the daisy. She lives in the plane of concordant opposition. She operates as a 14th level druid, 7th level ranger, 14th level magic user, and a 10th level bard. She is Sheila the Wise, the halfling deity of agriculture, nature, and weather. She appears as a beautiful halfling female dressed in wildflowers. Her followers will often wear a small flower to honor her. Uh, she has a couple of celebratory days of the year. They are the seeding, new spring, and other titles depending on the region. I kind of like that a lot of the gods have regional titles. That would be something that would be important as you grow your campaign. It goes on to, it's a lot of these halfling gods will help you if you've been particularly faithful. You're in dire need, so they will go on and help you. In this case, she'll give you the ability to create an entangle to slow your enemies. And her clerics and druids can rise to 6th level of ability. This was early 80s D&D. This was when non-humans were very limited in how high they could rise. This particular issue is from December of 82. I'm going to check. This particular issue came out March of 82. So this is still very early in D&D, and non-human classes were still being thought of as the weaker class races, simply because D&D was designed originally to be very human-centric. An interesting thought, the original concept being that humans were the most adaptable and things like that. But again, it's something that I've moved beyond in my DMing. I don't stay with the human eccentricity or human centricity, I guess I want to say. And I allow halfling deities or halfling clerics to go as high as their deity will let them. So now we come down to, we'll go to the next goddess, Sirolali. She's a lesser goddess, AC 3, 260 hit points. She has 75% MR. She is lawful good. Her worshiper's alignment is all good alignments of halflings. Her symbol is the open door. She resides in 7th heaven. She's a 10th level cleric, 10th level paladin, 8th level magic user, 8th level illusionist. She's the deity of friendship and trust, as well as a protector like Yandala. She's thought more of a goddess that protects the home or keeps the inhabitants from becoming too defensive and closed in. So she's a goddess of the home. She wants you to be safe in your home, but she doesn't want you to strictly stay to your home and live in fear of what's outside your door and things like that. So it's pretty interesting. Most of her followers are just regular halflings, 0-level halflings, if you will, with some fighter types, and worship services are held on the first day of each month. Again, another defensive goddess, just protecting the halfling home and hearth. And then we come to a guy I find particularly interesting, Brandabaris. He's a demigod. I like this guy. AC 0, 85 hit points. Again, he's only a demigod. 60% MR. His alignment is neutral, and worshipper's alignment is all thieves and those who go adventuring. His symbol is a halfling's footprint. Halfling's footprint. He lives in the prime material plane, so again, our prime material. He operates as a 6th level druid, 7th level ranger, 6th level magic user illusionist, and a 19th level thief. Brandabaris is a lot of fun. He indulges in adventures and misadventures. He's the master of stealth, and basically is the master of thieves or those who are going to try to steal to not only enrich themselves, but maybe help their community. You can't be a selfish thief and worship Brandabaris, but you can go ahead and lift stuff from other people. I always kind of thought the Kender were taken from Brandabaris, actual worshippers. The Kender from Dragonlance don't believe in personal property. They think that anything that they can take is fine to take. I always kind of thought that Brandabaris played a big part in that. Brandabaris is neat. He's kind of a laughing rogue kind of thing, and he encourages his followers to be the same. He doesn't want evil thieves who are just out there, stealing for greed and things like that, although you could worship him that way. You won't find his favor that way. He wants you out there just kind of living life to the fullest and being the best darn thief you could possibly be. So kind of an interesting deity. I always like Brandabaris, and that's all we've got in this one. So kind of a brief article, unfortunately. I thought the Pantheon, of all of Roger Moore's Pantheons, I thought this one was not developed as well as the others. and very honestly, I felt it was kind of weak. The article is fine, but it didn't give you a lot that said, "Hey, I want to go ahead and be a cleric of a halfling deity right now." We did have my one player who did worship Yandala and was very devoted to Yandala, very devout worshiper, and we had a lot of fun with that character. Interesting story why he was named Orcus was, as he said, he came from a large family. His parents only used biblical names, and they ran out of the good ones. I may have told that story before. I don't remember, but I always found that to be quite a chuckle. And Orcus got into a lot of mischief as a cleric of Yandala. So, a very good character, very missed at our table. So, that's all I've got to say about the deities of the halflings today. Thank you for watching. I appreciated it. Please remember the Patreon. I'm trying to keep the channel up and running, but I do need a little capital to make that happen. So please take a look at the Patreon, and whatever you can do to help would be wonderful. And that's all I've got to say today. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on page 121.